Let's dive right in with a question that's both huge and, really personal. It's a question that kind of challenges how we see not just ourselves, but every single one of the 8 billion other people on this planet. So think about it for a second. Are you actually related to everyone else alive? And I don't mean in some cheesy, we're all human metaphorical sense. I mean literally, in a real genealogical, you can trace the family tree kind of way. Are you related to your neighbor? To a complete stranger halfway across the world? Well, believe it or not, the answer from a whole bunch of different fields is a resounding, definitive yes. You are. We all are. And the story of how we know this for sure is honestly one of the most incredible stories you'll ever hear. So, first up, we're going to explore this idea that we are all family. And what's wild is how we're going to see two fields that people often think are in total conflict, science and scripture, actually pointing to the exact same powerful truth. Okay, our journey starts with the story in our bones. To do this right, we have to go way, way back, millions of years in the past, to see what the fossil record tells us. The timescales here are just staggering. It's hard to wrap your head around it. Look at Homo erectus. They showed up almost 2 million years ago and stuck around for 1.5 million years. I mean, that is an incredibly successful run, and it makes them a foundational piece of our shared story. And then, way, way later, only about 300,000 years ago, that's when our own species, Homo sapiens, finally enters the picture. And these folks, Homo erectus, they were total pioneers. I mean, they were the first of our ancestors to walk out of Africa. They had bigger brains, they were using sophisticated tools, and they probably even had control of fire. This group was so successful and so widespread that they really represent the common ancestral stock for everyone who came later. And that includes us. So then we show up on the scene, and the fossil record gives us these amazing little snapshots of our species emerging. You get these early modern-looking faces in Morocco, then more anatomically modern skeletons in Ethiopia. All the clues, every single fossil, they all point to one place, a single origin in Africa for every single modern human on Earth today. All right, so that's the story from the bones buried in the ground. Now let's zoom in, like way in, to the evidence that's buried inside every single one of our cells. Because as incredible as the fossil story is, the story our DNA tells is even more precise and, frankly, a lot more personal. Get ready for this number, 99.9%. That's how genetically identical you are to any other person. It's crazy. Our entire species has less genetic diversity than a typical troop of chimpanzees. And that fact alone points directly to one thing. We all came from a very small group of people very recently. You see, genetics lets us trace our family tree in these incredible ways. By looking at mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down only from a mother to her children, scientists can trace everyone's maternal line backward, and they all meet at a single woman. They call her mitochondrial Eve. Now, she wasn't the only woman alive back then, not at all. But her specific lineage is the only one that has survived in an unbroken chain down to every single one of us today, about 150,000 years later. But it gets even crazier. Seriously, this part is mind-blowing. Forget about deep evolutionary time for a minute. Let's ask a different question. Who is the most recent person that is an ancestor of everyone alive today? The answer is just shocking. The mathematical models show that person lived only about 4,000 years ago. That's more recent than the pyramids. It's happening during recorded history. The idea behind this is something called the genetic isopoint. And here's the best way to picture it. You go back about 5,000 to 7,000 years, and everybody's family trees just start crashing into each other. You hit this point where every single person alive back then who has any living descendants today is an ancestor of all 8 billion of us. It means our family tree isn't really a tree with all these separate branches. It's more like a dense, tangled, inseparable web. So we've seen the scientific case, and it's pretty airtight. But what's really remarkable is that a completely different way of knowing, the biblical narrative of Adam, also lands on this exact same core idea. We're all one big family. And what's so fascinating is that it doesn't really matter how you interpret the story of Adam. If you take it literally, we all descend from a single couple. If you see Adam as a symbol for an original group of humans, we share a common ancestral group. And there's another view, the genealogical one, that fits really well with the science we just talked about, that Adam and Eve were real people who lived among others, and their lineage eventually just spread to everyone. In every single case, the theological bottom line is identical. All of humanity is one family. And this isn't just some modern reinterpretation either. The idea is stated explicitly right there in the scripture itself. This verse from the book of Acts makes the principle crystal clear: a single origin for all the peoples of the world. And really, this brings us to the heart of the matter. Science and theology are asking fundamentally different questions, right? Science is all about the how, the mechanics, the genetics, the evolution. Theology is exploring the why, our purpose, our meaning. And yet, on this one profound, incredibly important point, their answers converge. They land in the exact same spot. We are one family. Okay, so what? It's a fascinating fact, but does it really matter? We've traced the evidence through bones and DNA and ancient texts, but what does this actually mean for us, living our lives, right here, right now? Why does knowing this matter so much? Well, the implications are just enormous. First, realizing we're all one family absolutely demolishes any biological basis for racism. It just pulls the rug right out from under it. It means the suffering of people in a country far away is the suffering of our distant relatives. It reframes this planet not just as some rock we live on, but as our shared family home, which gives us a collective responsibility to protect it. And it gives us a powerful starting point for solving conflicts by reminding us that our differences are absolutely tiny compared to our shared heritage. Ultimately, this is the question that both science and scripture leave us with. This isn't just a fascinating fact or a theological idea. It's a reality with the power to change how we see each other and how we act. So if we accept this overwhelming evidence that we are truly one family, what are we going to do about it?